Ann Coulter is joining us in studio. Ann, so good to see you.
Hola, good to be here.
Hi.
Hi there. I'm so
Good
happy
to
my
see
friend
you.
Lauren's here.
I know. I picked a good day to fill in.
I missed the very beginning of what you were saying about whether we'll still be talking about, but I assume we're talking about rompers.
How did you guess?
They're all the rage now.
Yeah, I've
Male
heard.
rompers. I mean, didn't they originate in prison? Weren't they the first male rompers?
They began there and they'll end there. It's the circle of life. So we've got another day. We've got another leak. This time it involves the New York Times, and they are claiming that, I guess, Trump was bragging about firing Jim Comey. He called him a nut job.
Yes, which I would like to be able to say, why, that doesn't sound like the president. But unfortunately, I can't say that.
What do you make of that whole story?
I agree with him that Comey is a ridiculous showboater, and this whole Russia thing is crazy. I mean, you have to keep going back to what the conspiracy the left is alleging here. The left that loved Russia back when it was communist and there were show trials, and they even switched to support Hitler and then be against Hitler, depending on which side the communists were on. But now that Russia has apparently really given up communism for good, they hate Russia with a hot, hot hate. And their theory is that Putin was working with WikiLeaks to leak the John Podesta emails, proving that the DNC was out to screw Bernie Sanders because that would somehow help elect Donald Trump. I don't even think our intelligence executives or officials would fall for that. I am quite sure Russia, a country practiced in spycraft, would not be interested in that. That's the underlying theory here, and they're obsessed. I think USA Today was first talking about impeachment 4 weeks into the Trump presidency. Is it time to impeach him? So keeping up with like the day-to-day story of this, and why is Comey still talking about it? He is a showboater. He does like to be loved by the press. They've been investigating the Russia collusion story since July. I mean, he testified to that. They've been investigating it since July.
When Obama was in charge.
They don't have one piece of evidence, not one. They still just have a crackpot theory with zero evidence. But I'm afraid this is, I mean, what this is starting to remind some of us of is Patrick Fitzgerald, and allegedly extremely, I thought he seems like he was totally above board and by the book. And they bring him in to investigate the leak of Valerie Plame's name under Bush, which wasn't a crime. He knew the name of the person before the investigation even started. So he knew before his investigation started, there is no crime here. He throws a bunch of people under oath. Scooter Libby's recollection of how he found out differed from the recollection of Matt Cooper of Time magazine. So Scooter Libby gets convicted of a felony and disbarred. These independent counsels, they're accountable to no one. There's a reason that the Congress decided not to repass the independent counsel law after Clinton. That actually caught a criminal, but it was a Democrat criminal. So let's get rid of that law. But they did get rid of it, and this is a disaster. And I think what's happening with Rosenstein is the exact same thing. The fourth branch of government is the most important branch. Everyone wants to be liked by the media.
The way I see it, there's a couple of different things going on at once. There's the theory that Russia tries to get their preferred candidate or try to get their preferred outcome in foreign elections, which I think is probably true, and I think it's not something that's unique to the United States.
Right, we know Mexico does.
Vicente Fox endorsed Hillary Clinton during the race. Barack Obama endorsed a candidate in France. That happens all the time. The Russians are responsible for the JFK conspiracy theories that the CIA took him out. They were doing that long ago.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they were the ones responsible for that. But that's separate from collusion. That's them just trying to promote their interests worldwide, which every country on the planet does. The collusion is something that we've seen no proof of, and every person within the Trump administration that I've talked to is perplexed with it. I mean, it's not like they're trying to hide it. It's that they can't imagine why this is what the Democrats are hanging their hat on.
Right.
And it's just irritating to them. But it's blocking them from putting their agenda through, which is a problem for his supporters in the long run.
That isn't what's blocking him, but he is blocked.
And then,
But
Ann, let me ask you this, 'cause
blocking.
I was talking to John earlier. I mean, even if there is no shred of hard evidence that anything is going on, but on the day that you fire Comey, like maybe you don't have a closed door meeting with two Russia. You know what I mean? It looks weird to the rest of us. Like whether or not anything is going on.
Oh,
it's
wow.
just bad
If we're
optics.
going to do the things that Trump has done that look weird, this is going to be a long radio
start with the
show.
gold fixtures.
Start with Nikki Haley at the UN. Oh, good grief, the idiotic things this man has done.
But because they're so irritated, my worry is they're going to get sloppy and try to, quote unquote, cover it up by just trying to get this out of the way because they think it's so insane and then get in trouble on that side of it. That's my fear.
I don't think there's going to be a cover up, though. I'm I'm heartened by the fact that they're investigating someone in the White House for having done something we don't know, but something about Russia. And I guess they're saying it has something to do with a cover up for some other thing and maybe money laundering or something like that. Just because I hope it's a certain relative of the president's, because I can very, very well imagine, one of the many relatives going, "Sorry, Dad, I just deposited a check, and oh look, it's from the Central Bank of Moscow."
Right.
And he'd leap in. I mean, this is why you don't want to hire your relatives, though we don't know that's who it is yet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's anything to any of these allegations, or do you think?
Russia, no. I think it's insane. I mean, the very theory of it is completely insane. They have to go with Russia. I mean, I'm totally with the people in the White House saying, we don't even know. We didn't bring our notes for this. We don't even know how to defend this. They'd love to have it being like Al Qaeda was buying Trump the White House, or North Korea was the one influencing him. But they didn't have that. There was nobody around Trump had any connection to North Korea. There are no golf courses. There's nothing. There's nothing with ISIS. So it's like, well, we got Canada. Okay, we'll go with Canada influencing the election. That's basically what this is. I mean, Canada would make more sense because, like I say, all the people pushing this are the ones for 50 years who have been hysterically defending Russia from everything, from the Ukrainian famine, from killing 100 million people. And they're just down the line with Russia, defending Russia. Now that Russia isn't communist, and I guess they're a little testy about Russia not being very friendly to the gays.
Yeah, or just marching into Crimea, and they're.
I'm for that. Crimea has always been part of Russia. I don't think they care about that. No, they don't. They do. I mean, it's not America, but it's better than most of our allies. They're a little more corrupt. They're a little more cynical. But right now, they ought to be an ally of ours, because who's our real enemy? Islam.
Right.
They've been fighting Muslim lunatics for 1,000 years. They ought to be our ally. And I don't know if you remember this. His comment to the Russian. I don't think I would have chosen the word nut job,
right.
But this will not be the first time.
It probably translated well to Russian.
But I do agree not only that Comey is a showboater, and I agree with Trump's sentiment behind saying it, because remember that absolutely magnificent press conference Trump held directly with the press instead of Sean Spicer, a month into his administration. And it was beautiful. It was fantastic. But one of the things he said there was, because of the media's obsession with Russia, if I bombed a Russian ship just for laughs right now, you'd all call me a hero. But if I try to work with Russia to deal with Islamic terrorism, well then, it must be collusion. There must be something going on. You're interfering with a proper handling of foreign policy here. And I think he is right about that. But I don't know why, in addition to the nut job word, and we won't go through all the stupid things that have been done because we don't have 6 days here. I don't understand why, and it appears to be the case that Trump was so fixated on Comey. Who cares about Comey? The media is the one driving this story. They're the ones obsessively Russia, with no evidence, with no decent theory.
It's the media and the bureaucracy, because there are so many leaks, and I'm convinced he's got a bunch of snakes working for him at the White House.
Yes.
But I also think it's the civil servants, it's the Obama holdovers, it's these people that have been there a long time that want to try to block him at every turn. We'll get you to respond to that when we return. Our guest in studio is Ann Coulter, author of the book In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome, available online at Amazon.com. You can also read her column at AnnCoulter.com. It's John Phillips and Lauren Sivan in for Jillian. This is Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's 5:25 on Talk Radio 790 KABC. John Phillips, Lauren Sivan in for Jillian. Ann Coulter joins us in studio. The book, In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome, available online at Amazon.com. So, Ann, what should Trump do to stop the leaks? Because every day there's a new one, or maybe two, or maybe three.
Well, I was sort of hoping this is what the nut job story was. I don't know if you remember. Somebody had to remind me, and I do need to look it up. But early on in the first Bush administration, there was really bad leaks coming out. And the basic story is they sent out some false information to like different people with it altered slightly. You know, the same way if you want to know who's sending you junk mail, you alter what your address is from different catalogs. And Crate and Barrel.
Did it work?
My name is not Smitty. And that's how they caught a leaker at Department of Justice. And it was some woman, and they exposed her. And I was sort of hoping that the nut job story, they made it up. They sent, because apparently this went out in the transcripts from Trump's meeting with Comey. It's a summary of what happens. Not Comey, with the Russians, calling him a nut job. And I was hoping that's what this is. But yeah, that's how you catch a leaker.
Right.
I forget which book it was, but someone was telling me they read one of Trump's books recently. And he said that in corporate America, the way to find out who your enemies are is to take someone who you know is an enemy of yours, put them in a position of power, and see who gravitates to them. And when you see who gravitates to them, you know that those are all of your problem children, and then just get rid of all of them.
Huh. Well, he's certainly doing that in every single department, with every cabinet position, again, with his secretary to the UN.
But how is he going to keep his supporters happy when he's just careening from crisis to crisis? I mean, you can't govern like this. This can't hold.
Well, it's not the crises that are losing his supporters. It's the fact that he's not doing one thing he promised to do. Not one thing. I mean, NAFTA. And according to the reports, it was Jared who talked him out of NAFTA. I haven't read The Art of the Deal, but apparently looking at what he did with NAFTA, what you want to do is just give away everything at once. So you have nothing to bargain with. And the Dreamers, he did the same thing with that. Instead of going to Congress and saying, oh, you know, maybe we could go easy on the DACA, but you got to give me funding for a while. No. Go out and give a speech saying, I'm a humanitarian. I'm not going to deport any Dreamers. Don't worry, we're just going to keep rubber stamping these work permits for them. So apparently that's what you're supposed to do from Art of the Deal. He obviously hasn't started on the wall, which he doesn't need Congress's approval for. He could have started it January 21st.
What's the holdup on the wall?
Money.
Not really. He could have. He's commander in chief. He could use. I mean, this is what the Department of Defense has historically done. They build walls. Technically, Department of Defense is supposed to be defending our borders, not Ukraine's borders, not Syria's borders, not anybody else's borders. And by the way, there is money in the budget to build a wall between, I think it's Jordan and Lebanon. So we have plenty of money for walls in the Middle East, but not to defend our own country, of which he is, oh yes, that's right, the commander-in-chief. He could have started January 21st. He didn't do it. I mean, maybe he doesn't know that he's commander-in-chief, but he could have hired people who know he's the commander-in-chief, like Chris Kobach, and put him as Homeland Security Secretary instead of this completely ridiculous General Flynn. Not Flynn, Kelly. I get those Irish names confused. And how about this moron today, our Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, giving a speech saying, America has a lot to apologize for the violence in Mexico. It's like a practical joke. This entire administration is like a practical joke on Trump supporters.
But during the campaign, I just have to bring this up because it did make me angry. Mexico was paying for the wall. That's what we all signed up for.
Right.
We like to hear that. And then all of a sudden his budget comes out and it's like, well, you know what? We're going to pay for the wall first. And then we're going to figure it out. Mexico will eventually pay, but through weird tariffs.
Oh, I don't care if it's put off. And by the way, I don't even care if Mexico pays for it. It's easy to get them to pay for it. We'd only have to hold back foreign aid for 5 years, and that pays for the wall. I loved his idea in his very first policy paper of having them pay for it by taxes on remittances, mostly because I think most Americans don't realize mostly illegals, some legal Mexican immigrants here are sending back $20 billion a year to Mexico. It's going straight into Carlos's Slim pocket. Carlos Slim saves the New York Times from bankruptcy, and we're doing nothing. We're doing nothing. We're not building the wall. We're not taxing remittances. We're not even deporting unconstitutionally amnestied, quote, dreamers.
Our guest is Ann Coulter. The book is In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. More coming up, including Scott Mantz, film critic for Access Hollywood. He's going to tell us what's coming out this weekend. And Florida, not Florida. This is Talk Radio 790 KABC. We continue at 5:38. Talk Radio 790 KABC. John Phillips and Lauren Sivan in for Jillian. Ann Coulter joins us in studio. But right now, it's time to check in with our pal Scott Mantz, film critic for Access Hollywood, who you can follow on Twitter at MovieMance, and of course watch on NBC4 weeknights at 7:30 to find out what's coming out this weekend. Scott, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. As always, it is the thing I look forward to every single week, Friday around 5:30, to talk to John and Jillian. You got great guests on the show today. We're going to talk about the brand new Alien film, which is called Covenant, and it is directed by Ridley Scott, who directed the last film, Prometheus. He directed the first Alien movie 38 years ago. Alien came out in 1979. It was a groundbreaking film, a trailblazing film, an exercise in suspense, in tension, in horror, in mood, and in atmosphere. The follow-up film that James Cameron directed, completely different kind of movie, also a masterpiece. That brings us now to Alien Covenant, and I gotta say, massive, huge, colossal disappointment.
Oh, no.
Really?
Massive, ladies and gentlemen. Now, John, as you know, sci-fi is my wheelhouse.
That's right.
Nobody loves this genre more than I do. I love sci-fi as much as John Phillips loves Mommy Dearest.
He does love a good Joan Crawford.
It's unnatural love, Scott.
It is an unnatural love that I have for sci-fi as well. But, when you think about all the great movies that Ridley Scott has directed over the years, Blade Runner, Thelma and Louise, Gladiator, American Gangster. I mean, he has directed some of the greatest movies of all time. Now, Alien Covenant, which works more as a direct sequel to the most recent film, Prometheus, it has its moments. It has its chest-busting scares that we have come to know and love from an Alien film. But overall, it has a feeling of been there, done that. There are no surprises here. There's nothing really to move the series forward or into a direction that it has not traveled before. It is a conventional Alien film. It is an uninspired Alien film. And for me, honestly, maybe I'm being too hard on this movie, but I just feel like conventional Ridley Scott is not good enough.
Is this going to be the second big bomb of the summer, 2 weeks in a row?
No. Actually, no. I think it's going to make between $40 and $50 million this weekend because, the last movie did pretty well. And people, fans, sci-fi fans, and especially Alien fans, they do love the series. And a lot of my fellow critics and journalists and stuff, they actually did like it more than I did. Full disclosure, this is just one opinion that you're hearing. The Rotten Tomatoes percentage is 75% as we speak. So it's very positive. But some of those reviews are with reservations that I've expressed. those reservations that I've expressed affect my overall enjoyment of the movie, which is why I did not like it as much as they did. Now, as far as like a bomb, man, that King Arthur, that was a colossal, huge atomic bomb.
Really? Is that what Charlie
the summer
Hunnam?
season just got started, with Guardians of the Galaxy, and then the following weekend, boom, there's King Arthur, a king-size bomb. Man, that was awful.
Hey, Scott, we're running short on time today, so we got to run. But thanks so much for stopping by and telling us about how bad Alien is.
My pleasure. Great talking to all of you. Have a great weekend.
All right, thanks so much for stopping by. Don't forget you can watch Scott on Access Hollywood weeknights at 7:30 on NBC4, and you can follow him on Twitter at MovieMans. When we return, we'll move from alien to illegal aliens because we have the author of Adios America here.
What a
And
transition.
Coulter. More coming up. It's 5:48 on Talk Radio 790 KABC. John Phillips, Lauren Siobhan, and for Jillian. Ann Coulter joins us in studio. Check out her column at anncoulter.com. If you were to give Trump one piece of advice right now, what would it be?
Can it be global, like fire everyone except Jeff Sessions, Stephen Miller, and hire all new people? If it's global, that would be my advice. If I only get to replace one person, put Chris Kobach, get rid of General Kelly, and put Chris Kobach at Homeland Security.
Joe Biden came out yesterday and said that Hillary was a bad candidate and he would have done much better. And today, I guess it was, Jeb Bush predicted that Joe Biden would be the Democratic nominee in 2020.
Oh, my gosh. We did dodge a bullet with Jeb, exclamation points. Wow. No, it's both moronic and boring, which is kind of my idea of Jeb, exclamation point, moronic and boring.
And he's thinking about staying in politics. There's an open congressional seat in Florida now because Ileana Ros-Lehtinen is retiring.
Oh, he wouldn't run for Congress, would he?
Now the rumors are that
What?
Jeb is going to run for
Oh,
Congress.
Jeb's running. I thought
Yeah.
That seems really weird after being governor of what, the third largest state? Isn't Florida bigger than New York now?
It could be.
Okay, third or fourth, whatever. Google it at home, kids. The governor and who ran for president would be a little congressman. I mean, maybe Senate.
That seems like it would just be miserable for him because he'd have to try to get legislation through. Trump
who's
would have to
voting for
sign
him?
it.
Who's really psyched about Jeb again? I mean, it's just there's nothing there.
Maybe Congress is the best he could do.
But I don't even think he could do Congress. I want to know what contingency is still pro Jeb and going to get out there and fight.
Right.
I don't know who that is.
And I thought he was buying the baseball team down there, the Miami Marlins. Wasn't that supposed to be his big project that he and Derek Jeter were buying the team?
I must tell you, John, you have stayed much more in touch with what happened to Jeb.
You've definitely been on his Facebook page, keeping tabs on it.
Hang on, I need to click refresh.
He's remodeling his bathroom this weekend.
They're having paella.
I also would advise Trump, because I would like this show to go on for 6 days on the advice I'd give Trump. One thing he might want to keep in mind is since Democrats are so anxious to impeach him and have been since the November 8th, that if he screws up and doesn't give us a wall, it's going to be a wipeout in the midterm elections. He may think he doesn't have to worry about anything for 4 years, and then if he's not going to win, he'll just say, well, I got everything done. I'm not even running again. Look how great America is. But no, he has to worry about midterm elections because if he doesn't build the wall, it will be a wipeout. It will be like the post-Watergate Congress, and they'll impeach him.
And how likely is it that he just resigns and he's like, listen, I want to play golf. I had this gorgeous life before. I did whatever I wanted, a hot wife. Now I got to deal with this 24/7. Like, I feel like at night his ice cream is his only escape. I feel he might resign. It's just.
I don't think he would. I don't think so. And if he does it, if he did, I think he wouldn't say that. I think he would say what I just said he'd say if he doesn't run for re-election. Well, I've done it all.
Yeah.
He would just come out and lie to our faces about how America's great again.
And how he won.
But I don't think he will. I mean, having bashed him for not keeping his promises, I will say, I mean, obviously I still have hope. We had no choice. We had to support Trump. No one else gives a crap about Americans. Both political parties are for Goldman Sachs and endless war and Lockheed Martin. He was the only option we had. And I do think he's a genuine patriot. And if he ends up getting his act together and fulfilling his promises, build a wall, build a wall, build a wall, I'll say it's because he got to Washington. Everybody was against him. He doesn't have any. I mean, he is a non-politician. We're not used to a non-politician, though. That's what the framers had in mind. He didn't have a political party he could go to. He didn't have the RNC, though he ended up going to them. I mean, it also explains why he did this idiotic thing of hiring his kids.
He had
At
no one he
least
could
they
trust.
can trust him. Yeah. So it may just be that there are growing pains, though. Okay, now that I've said some nice things about him, let me go do a little minor bashing here. You know, some of these things you hear, I don't believe a lot of the rumors about what's going on at the White House, but they have said that he'd he respects people who are rich because he thinks that's proof that they're smart. And I'll admit that often that is true, but often it isn't. And I'm just getting kind of the impression that, okay, it's more than just Sessions. I like Wilbur Ross, and this general obsession he has. I mean, it's like he has to be surrounded with people that for photogenic reasons seem like alpha males to him. So he's surrounded by all these people who don't believe any of his agenda.
We're joined in studio by Ann Coulter. It's John Phillips and Lauren Siobhan in for Jillian. Talk Radio 790. It's 5:57. Talk Radio 790 KABC. John Phillips with Lauren Siobhan in for Jillian. Ann Coulter joins us in studio. If you want to see La La Land at the Hollywood Bowl on May 26th or Hans Zimmer revealed at the Shrine Auditorium on August 11th, call right now at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. The first and second callers win the tickets. So, Ann, how much longer is this intensity going to go on with the news cycle? Because by the time every week ends, I'm exhausted. I can't keep up with all the stories. Every time I think I'm up on all the latest,
Right.
10 new things happen.
Your phone
and
starts beeping.
Yeah, I'm left in the dust.
Well, I think the media will keep it up, and it is coming from the media. It's not coming from Trump, but Trump needs good people around him, and he needs to be doing what he said he was going to do. And if he just does that, we can all stop watching MSNBC and CNN and reading New York Times. They can just tire themselves out.
I don't know, because I think that they have an endless supply of outrage. And I think the Democrats hate his guts so much that Rachel Maddow is now number one in cable news. Stephen Colbert is now number one in late nights. They are.
And he was about to get canceled.
He was, but now he's found an audience because it's practically an MSNBC show on a network late night format.
Yeah, because I go to MSNBC when I want comedy.
But
Rachel Maddow does have some zingers.
Oh, yeah.
Her
Like the
cold
tax
open is
returns.
a half an hour long these days. Just so much.
No, it always has been. It's just that you people are tuning in now. I have been a regular viewer for years. But not anymore. I don't watch MSNBC and CNN anymore. I see what the headlines are from the New York Times and the Washington Post because it is really boring. What's annoying about it is that Trump never seems to be prepared. I mean, we're not getting scandals coming out of Jeff Sessions' office.